Hello and welcome to the next episode of The Podcast, a cannabis podcast for budding enthusiasts. As usual, you're joined by your boy, Happy Days, here from the Upside Down Library, and we want to give a massive shout out to our sponsors who help make the show happen. As always, Seeds Here Now, your number one seed bank in the game. All the latest drops, all the hottest breeders. You're looking to score some of that ever elusive Happy Days gear? Go check them out. They got some of my stuff right now available for you to snatch up with extra freebies on offer for each pack purchase. Trust me guys, grab the Kaifi or the Key Royale if you're loving that indica madness, or check out some Patanga if you want some uplifting, social, giggly fun time. Next up, we gotta thank Copa Biological Systems. You know them, you love them. All the best pest and predator technology, able to keep your garden pumping on all cylinders, pest and pathogen free. Check out the Afipar M if you're battling aphids, or the Spidex Vital if you've got some spider mites. Trust me guys, you want to release this stuff before you have a big issue. It's going to save you a whole world of trouble. Stay on top of your pests and pathogens. Check out Copa today guys, best in the world. Copa Biological Systems, thank you so much for your support. Likewise, a massive shout out to our friends at Pulse Sensors. Whether you're running a single tent, a single room, or a multi-state operation, Pulse Sensors are going to help you to have the best harvest to date. Through careful tracking of parameters you may not even be aware of, like VPD, PPFD, a whole bunch of parameters that aren't obvious or picked up by your standard temperatures, a pulse sensor is going to help you to have increased resin, increased yield, increased flavonoids, the whole gamut. Trust me guys, get serious. Get a pulse sensor today. You won't regret it. Thank you so much, Pulse. Likewise, we've got to give a huge shout out to the Patreon gang. If you want to help support the show and ensure that episodes continue to happen, please go check out the Patreon at www.patreon.com/thepodcast, all one word. Early access. In return, you'll get early access to upcoming episodes, unheard special episodes with the likes of Bob Hemphill, Mr. Mean Gene, Bodie, Trichome Jungle, so much more. We've also introduced our Discord giveaway sessions. Every fortnight we do a live smoke with heavy sesh, win yourself some genetics, basically pays for itself. Check it out guys. Patreon gang, we love you so much. Thank you again. We really appreciate you. In this episode, I'm joined as usual by Mr. Bean for the 2022 Breeder Awards for the year. Who have you picked? Write some ideas down. See if you agree with us. Alrighty friends, we're back for another one, and as usual we're joined by the man with his feet on the ground in the industry, Mr. James Bean, for our Breeder Awards of 2022. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me again. It's good to be back on the show for another year down. Another year down, another year in the books.
I got to say, we've had a quick one, or should I say probably about 8 months. This one's been a little truncated because we did last year's one a little bit late, but I decided, get us back on track, we'll do this one a little bit early. But needless to say, we've had a few notable changes going down in the industries. We've seen a few breeders come, a few go, a few incarnated. It's going to be an interesting awards, I think. How about you? What's been going on for you, Mr. Bean?
Definitely, I was thinking about that as well. I was thinking, when we were talking about Breeder of the Year and whatnot, I was like, this name has been up there the last 2 years. This name has been non-existent in the last couple of months. I wonder what's going on with that one. So we'll definitely talk about that. But I think the whole industry on the whole is down, possibly the seed sales are down a little bit this year over year. People got out of their houses. Of course, we had two banger years, 20 and 21. But people actually got out of their houses, got them moving around. So sales are a little bit down, but we had made our sales even better, right? Even better deals for everybody else. So
that's exactly it. And I think this might be a good point to review some of our predictions and some of our results from last year, because we haven't done that yet. I think it'll be good to sort of check in and see if they stand the test of time, albeit 8 to 12 months. So the first award from last year we'll check in was the Clone of the Year. We gave it to Apple Fritter. How does that feel? You still stand by it?
Yeah, still think it was. It's hard to look back and know now what you know and not think about that and compare. Like, oh, we didn't know about this from back then. So, I prefer definitely. I think it was good. I think it was a solid pick. For sure because it wasn't the recent apples, but I think it definitely started up the apples phase trend, if you will.
Yeah, certainly. And something that I was very happy to see was that it hasn't been adopted by absolutely everyone in their breeding projects. So it's not completely oversaturated. So I agree. I think it still definitely stands the test. And, shout out to Lump Status. It's a cool one for sure. And the flower's really nice. I've seen it used in a lot of projects. The next thing I wanted to mention, though, was when I asked you last year about the clone of the year, your guess was the jealousy from JBZ. And guess what? Leafly's just come out and called it their strain
Oh,
of the year. So, what's interesting is we sort of made this same point around 3 years ago when we first predicted the upsurge of runts when it came out. And then what do you know? Leafly strain of the year the following year. So, I guess at this point, it's safe to say we're not doing too bad on the old betting odds, are we?
no, I think if I was a betting man, which I generally am, I do play the cryptos. Uh, I would definitely put our money on us to pick it. But you know, not to blow my own horn here, but when you're in the industry and you're in the seed business, you're in the seed game, and you see what's coming in and day out, and see all the new strains and what's on the market. It's kind of it's humbling, and it's cool to be able to hit things on the head sometimes.
Of course, of course. If we move on and we look at our hottest newcomer, we had Bloom Seed Co. really solidifying himself as, in that tier one breeder list nowadays. I can definitely get behind that. I think Bloom's sort of gone from strength to strength, now doing some collabs with Boston Roots.
Definitely, and I just had what was his maple
Oh, the Black Maple hybrids?
black maple. Yep, that had that line release. Just sold the last pack of those the other day. Uh, those were hot commodity. Definitely a big pack. He's a good guy. He likes fast cars.
Yeah,
He
I've
doesn't, though,
seen
right?
that. He's got some nice parts on his Instagram. Well, there you go. Yeah, shout out to Bloom for that one. In terms of our most anticipated seed drop last year, we had Crickets and Cicada, Mr. Bob and Hannah Bolt with their Puck Backcross 1 line. I think it's safe to say we can stand by that one pretty firmly.
Yeah, that's a given. That was yeah, definitely. He happens to be in the running for this year with his BC3. In fact, so
Yeah, they've gone from strength to strength.
yeah, at least for me, that was a hot one for this year for sure. Almost shut my website down.
That's it. That's good to hear. So, in terms of our Hall of Fame strain, we had Blueberry from DJ Short. I don't think it needs too much said there. Clearly, Hall of Fame worthy strain.
Yeah, I mean, anybody smoked blueberry when they were growing up. I think. I mean, they had, even if it wasn't the true blueberry, you were given a bag and it was told he was blueberry. I mean, it smelled like it may smell like hay sometimes. And it wasn't. It was clearly Beasters, but they told you it was blueberry. So it was one of those, the first knocked off strain, if you will.
Yeah, gosh, must be knocked off more than basically anything, right?
Yeah, pretty much. I remember. God, remember? Did you guys ever have Beasters over in Australia? You know what I'm talking about? Beasters.
Yeah, we got the equivalent. Yep.
I think it later came out to be like a M38 or 27 or something from Canada, but horrible weed.
Yeah, yeah, what, M39 or whatever, that Skunk Cross NL Fast Flower. And then we also gave a Lifetime Achievement Award to Mel Frank for all of his work. So I think, again, that one stands the test. So looking back, pretty happy with those results. I don't think we've got egg on our face in any real meaningful regard. So let's move on to the awards for this year. I think a good place to start, we always like to start, well, not always, but last year, I should say, I listened to the episode before this, so it's just fresh in my mind. Last year, we started with Clone of the Year, so I think it's a good place to start again. Let's do some honourable mentions before we actually announce the winner. So for me, I want to start out by giving an honourable mention to something that I don't think many people will expect, which is that I want to give an honourable mention to RS11, bred by Deep East an undeniably popular commercial strain. The Doja crew has repped this one. They've done super well with it. They're on the record of saying that the clone drop was the most successful in history. I think they said it was like 1.5 million or something. It beat JBZ's Jealousy one. And it's a beautiful flavor that really sort of incorporates the best aspects of the parents, being the pink guava and the OZ Kush. So yeah, I want to give an honorable mention to the Rainbow Sherb 11, super popular. Shout out Deep East.
Yeah, no, definitely. I remember when I first saw that strain come across the list, I thought it was Roadkill Skunk. I was like, somebody's got a Roadkill Skunk. How dare they? How dare they? And then I saw Gromer working with the Thug Bug. He had a drop this year with PBX, BX, and he had the RS. And I was like, he's got a Roadkill Skunk. I was like, oh no, it's a Rainbow Sherb. Yeah, good strain though for sure. I've seen that everywhere. Exotic's got it using it coming up, and a lot of people have been using it. I thought it was Roadkill Skunk. Obviously, clearly not.
No, look, I can understand the confusion. So yeah, a shout out to the Doja crew and all that. Another honorable mention I want to give is to Archive Fletcher for the Rainbow Belts 3.0, the next installment in the Rainbow Belts series from Archive. Many people still infatuated and in love with the flavor of the Rainbow Belts, and for good reason. It's very terpy with a little something special on top of that. So if you're into that Skittles dimension of flavor, this has got that plus more, as well as super aesthetic, a very popular clone and seed release. Shout out to Archive for the Rainbow Belts 3.0.
Yeah, definitely. I had people calling me. They're like, "Hey, you got any Rainbow Belts in your safe? You got any Rainbow Belts?" I was like, "No, why? Why do you want those?" They're like, "Oh man, I need it." So definitely, Fletch always comes correct with serious strains. He's been in the game longer than most people I know. Definitely does it for the right reasons. And he's one of those guys that he's got a rec license, so he can run the numbers, find what he wants to run, find what's good, find what works for him, and then the rest on the shelf, so to say.
100%. And then the final honourable mention I want to give is to none other than Boston Roots for the Sherbanger clone. This one has started to make its way into many more gardens after being held for a couple years now. The plant's been used by many, and he's got some notable collabs going down with the likes of Bloom, which we've already mentioned. So that's cool. Shout out to Boston Roots for his Sherbanger.
For sure. I gotta give a couple of shouts out real quick, at least one. It's going to be for Exotic and his work with the Gary Poppins, which is the Gary Payton crossed with Red Pop.
Yeah, I had seen that one do well.
Yeah, we sold a whole bunch of that, maybe 400 or 500 packs of that thing. That thing was a hot commodity. Also, he had this year. He also had his Red Runts.
That's true. I've seen people in Australia harvesting that, and it looks great. So not only have they bought it, I've seen the flower on Instagram. It looks good. So shout out to Exotic Mike. So let's get to the winner this year.
The winner is
clone only of the year goes to none other than Apples and Bananas from Chris Compound. Apples and Bananas has undeniably been the biggest clone of the year for the 2022 period, in my opinion. We have seen a number of breeders, not just Chris, using it in their projects. Not just as female acceptors, but also even other people reversing it themselves, like Raw and Lit Farms, just to name a few. It's got an undeniable nose that has the ability to dominate any bag it's in. It seriously reminds me of that sort of tangy thing where it just fully cuts through the rest. And the bud structure, in my opinion, beautiful. That spiraling calyx sort of pyramidal or fractal looking structure, I really like it. Beautiful stuff. The high is great. Composed of some interesting genetics, now and laters, crossed to gelati. This one I find particularly interesting because it utilizes some unique work from Sin City, who yet again have proven themselves as the breeder's breeder, with their work also notably appearing in JBZ's Wedding Cake. So, Apples and Bananas is hot in every dispensary you go to, especially Cookies. Not surprising, given Chris helped curate their menu, but you'll find it in many of the exotic style brands, pushing it for good reason. It's really high quality bud. Lots of people growing with it, lots of people breeding with it. What's your thoughts, Mr. Bean? Agree, disagree?
Agree. Apples and bananas was huge last year. And 2022 was a big strain. We saw it coming at the end of the Emerald Cup with the big lines. The Emerald Cup when I went with Chris down there, that whole kind of snafu that happened. Of course, Chris is no longer with Compound now. He and them split ways at the beginning of this year. He put a post out. He's now Cipher Genetics, which you know. But that apples and bananas was money. And the cross on it, I've just got the full thing written out on my website. I was just like, it's not just two, I've got it as four, which is Platinum Cookies, Granddaddy Perps, that cross and the Blue Powder, which gives us now and later is that cross back to Gelati.
Actually, sorry. So that Platinum Cookies Granddaddy Purple, that's incorrect. It's correct, but instead of saying that, they should say what it actually is, which is it's Candyland. That's what Platinum Cookies Granddaddy Purple is. Yeah, I think the most interesting part, which I mentioned before, is yet again, Sin City sneaking their work into one of the hottest strains utilized by another big breeder.
Yeah, Don's a great dude. I've known him since 2014. Probably been hooked up with him at Denver Cup. We sell a lot of his gear. We have Sin City Saturdays, 20% off down stock. But he's been putting out a lot of good work for a long time. Usually always does merch with each release, and tests his work and does a lot of solid stuff.
So, what's your thoughts? Agree, disagree? Apples and bananas. I think you already answered it. Actually, am I just too stoned right now?
Yeah, no, answered it. It's definitely that. I mean, it was the hottest strain last year for sure. Like I said, we saw it coming through the end of the Emerald Cup, the lines, the people and stuff. And it's also just for the history books. It's odd how, that cut was out before he even did the seed release. So, because I got into it with a couple people over that not being the real deal, and find out it was the real deal, and just a whole bunch of problems there with that whole. But that good story makes a great strain, they say.
Well, I strongly suspect that the cut getting out before the seed drop happened is maybe one of the factors that led to Chris's ultimate split from Compound.
Yeah, I mean, if I was, if just let's say I was a breeder working with a tissue culture lab, hypothetically, if somehow my cuts started to get out and I didn't give them to anyone, I would be pissed. I would, you got to figure out, you got to start going backwards and be like, well, if I didn't give them out, how the hell did they get out?
Yeah. Interesting stuff. So, on to our next award. Let's do the hottest newcomer on the scene. So, this award historically does not go to people where it's, say, like their first year breeding. In past years, we've had winners such as Bloom, Soulfire, AK Beanbrains, and I think the idea of this award is more to acknowledge that people who are notable names within the industry have very much established themselves in that next sort of level. If you're going to just say tiers, establishing themselves as the next tier of breeder in a higher status, where that their offerings are generally quite high quality, and they've made some waves over the past few years. So to start off, I want to give the first shout out, the honorable mention, is to none other than Tiki Man. I actually think he's had a super productive year, doing a bunch of collabs with some cool people, including the likes of Raw and Umami Seed Co. And he's had a number of successful releases in his own right. I've got some friends who have found some killer stuff in his gear. I think Tiki Man deserving of an honorable shout out.
Definitely. I think I just saw him had a collab with Super Seed Co. I think they did something had release. But no, looks like he's been killing it. Looks like we met him 2 years ago, I believe, at Emerald Cup. Talked with him for a bit. Seemed like a real nice guy. But I've seen a lot of his stuff. Looks like it's coming out like fire.
Yeah, shout out Tiki Man. Likewise, another honorable mention I want to give to my buddy Skunk Tech, who's done some great work with both the headband, doing some feminized hybrids, as well as doing some root beer work in the form of BX2s and the root beer freeze work. Really cool work overall. Many people excited about it. So honorable shout out Skunk Tech.
Nice. I've got one honorable mention, a guy that I think is up and coming. It's going to be Nasha Genetics, NASHA. They had a really good year with this year. They had a runts drop early in June. Had their Oreo runs, their Rocky runs, and their runs crashers. Really good. And then their gushers drop, which happened late December. It's actually on the website now. Had the Miracle Gushers, Apple Gushers, Ivory Gushers. So we're gonna edit that out. So, so Nash Genetics with their Gushers drop, and the Gushers they did that the Gushers drop in June, and that saw the Miracle Gushers, Apple Gushers, Ice Gushers. Then they just had their Runts drop recently, and that's available on the website right now. And that had like the Rocky Runts, the Oreo Runts, Runts Crasher, really frosty stuff. Great packaging, great guys. We did an interview with him. It's on the website there. His name's Ran, real cool guy. But he's sold a lot of gear, and a lot of people have been really happy with this stuff.
Love it. Shout out Nasha. Love to hear it. I think they've actually got a hardcore OG hybrid or some work they've done with hardcore OG in the past, which has piqued my curiosity. So shout out there.
Yes, they do. In fact, I was going to mention it, but I was like, no one's going to know the hardcore. It's like hardcore gushers or something. It's hardcore gushers. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. That's an OG that I've sort of popped up more recently. I've been keeping my eye on. So this brings us to the hottest newcomer on the scene award. This year, it's going to go to someone who is, in fact, fairly new on the block and someone who I think has been making waves, and they themselves may be a bit surprised to hear this because I've never spoken to them. But I want to actually give it to Blockhead Buds. If you have been paying attention, you will likely have seen Blockhead Buds making waves. And I first heard about him about 12 months ago when I saw a number of cannabis cups being won in either first or second place, often multiple samples in the top 5, for a strain called Super Boof. And I was like, what's this? And you sort of start following it, and eventually it got renamed to Blockberry. And Blockhead Buds is the creator of this cross. It's a strain that's comprised of Black Cherry Punch by Tropicana Cookies. So it's obviously boasting like a super terpy high. But the difference and the reason why this is so popular is that it's also potent with a unique twist on the flavor. It's very myrcene dominant, but it translates to that typical strong citrus nose, but it's also got like an earthy cherryness to it, which is really interesting. So this one grabs your attention with both the nose, but it also keeps you focused and interested in the effect. So much so that it's been winning cups left and right. As I mentioned, it's often taking out multiple spots in the top 5, such as the New York Growers Cup, where it took both first and third by 2 different growers respectively entering their Blockberry samples. There's also been a number of other cups won, but I think the most interesting twist in this saga is that Mr. Blockhead himself thought he had given away / lost the last of the F1 stock, so he wasn't going to be able to produce any F2s or breed with males. He just had his breeder cut. However, recently he put a post up saying he got sent some seed back from a friend he had sent some of the F1s to, and so there's now some more projects on the horizon, including maybe an F2 line. He's done some cool other breeding projects utilizing males such as a Triangle Kush BX1, Lemon Rosé, and Blueberry Frosting, just to name a few. So a big shout out to Blockberry Buds, particularly for his Blockberry cross, otherwise known as Super Boof. Hugely popular. I suspect you're going to see it more over the coming 12 months. Mr. Bean, what's your thoughts?
I haven't seen the Blackberry Buds, but I have seen the Super Boo. And so I was like, oh, that's the guy. But yeah, it's got one of those names. You're just kind of like, oh, what the Super Boo? What the what? But no, the cross sounds great. Like I would love to dab some right now, if you wouldn't mind. Get some of that, like dabber. But yeah, sounds like some good stuff. I've taken note of it, sir, and I shall be in contact.
Yeah, I like all those points. Alrighty, gang. We're back for another one, and in this episode, we are extremely grateful to have none other than Blockhead Buds joining us today to accept his award. So, to start off, a big congrats, Blockhead, for taking out the hottest new breeder on the block award. Thanks for joining us. How you doing today?
That's awesome, man. Thank you. I'm doing well. Thanks for giving me. I didn't even know that I was up for the running. So yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you.
That's brilliant. I have to give you some kudos because in past years, the hottest newcomer on the block award, it actually never really went to anyone who was sort of like in their first year or anything like that. It was sort of people who'd been making little waves but had managed to really establish themselves. But I think you're the first person in the 3 or 4 years we've been doing this where it seems like you truly have just like busted down the door of the industry and charged in. How's that feel?
Oh man, yeah, that sounds awesome. I love it. I've kind of been doing certain things for a long time. I'm a little bit older, but yeah, so I think it's just kind of all come to fruition at once. So yeah, it feels great. So I don't even know, like, how did it work with you guys? Like, how do you guys come up with, the new breeder or whatever? Like, because you guys are out in Australia, so there's only maybe a couple people that have had my seeds out there. So is it for like continental US? Is just like out in Australia, or like how do you guys come up with the winners or whatever?
Great question. We are, largely speaking, an international show, and you put me in the hot seat here. Largely speaking, the awards are determined by both myself and I have James Bean of Seeds Here Now, one of our grateful sponsors. He also helps guide the selection a bit, but I think together we were both so blown away by how well Superboof, aka Blockberry, has done over the past year that it was sort of undeniable that amongst all the people who were not already really well-known breeders, that you certainly have elevated yourself to that level. And as a quick caveat, one of my buddies on Instagram, Osgrown, he's got this beautiful cut of the Blockberry F1s, and I have to acknowledge he
Yes.
was part of what put me onto that, because I was like, this looks interesting, and then it just all exploded. Have you found that sort of organic growth has been the reception you've got?
Yeah. So here's the thing. That guy, I'm pretty positive I know who you're talking about. So he was like one of maybe two people out in Australia to get the seeds. So initially, that whole project wasn't supposed to be a project. It was just something for me personally. So going back to what you and I were talking about a little earlier, is that when I first started, I bought some seed packs. Right? I just wanted to kind of dip my toe in to see if I liked it. You know what I mean? Like, I've grown a little bit as a kid. We would just throw bag seeds out in the yard, but all my plants would always get stolen. I was a little kid, probably talked about it. You know what I mean? So somebody would always rob your house, steal your plants. So I never ever got to actually harvest anything. So in California, I'm in Southern California. So in California, it went like fully legal. So I was like, all right, well, now nobody should be stealing my plants, right? So bought some seed packs, and I was like, man, this is crazy. To me, they were $150 for a seed pack, and I was like, we used to get these things for free, like, you know what I mean? Nobody wanted seeds, so I was like, wow, I'm gonna buy these. So I bought two packs. I bought it was like papaya OG from Ani Seeds, and then I bought Triangle Kush from Seed Junkie. So I bought those and then planted them, went through my whole thing, and then, piece by piece got bigger and bigger, started growing more and more, and then went indoors because outdoors was just you know, bug fest. It was just a lot of work. Wasn't give grew kind of boof, you know what I mean? Didn't have a market for it. So but based on the fact that those seeds were so expensive to me, I was like, $15 for one seed. So maybe on my second or third pack, I bought Tropicana cookies, and then I bought the black cherry punch from In-House. Tropicana cookies, another Oni and Harry Palm's creation. So I bought those, found a male of the triangle, or excuse me, of the Tropicana cookies. And I was like, I'm just gonna make my own seeds. That's how that whole project happened. I was like, this is so expensive. They're freaking $15 per seed. I'm gonna make thousands of them for free, and then that's it. So basically, just found this banger male, threw it on this, like, to me it was like the terpiest black cherry punch that I had. Had them do their thing, and I just got however many seeds. But that's how that project happened. It wasn't supposed to be anything other than just like a personal fun project, and I was just like, cool, I'm just going to bank these, and I probably was never going to pop them, to be honest with you. I just had them, and then that started my whole thing. So I started, like, I would collect all kinds of seeds. I was kind of like I wouldn't say Pokemon, but like a record collector for seeds. I was a true
Love it.
seed junkie, so I started buying all these seeds and all this shit. And then that guy Mobile J and I were friends on Instagram, so we would trade seeds essentially. And so in one of those trades, I gave him like five of my little project. Didn't have a name or anything like that. So he actually popped them. So if it wasn't for him, I would have never popped them. So he popped them, threw them in the back of like his warehouse or his basement, I think, at the time. And then he's like, bro, you gotta check this out, dude. These things are crazy. Like, he forgot about them. And then he started sending me videos, and I'm like, holy shit. And it looked like a lot better than a lot of the stuff that we had been going through and growing. I was like, God damn. So I got to pop my seeds, right? So he kind of started the whole thing. He was like he would I kind of liken him to like a Doja and me being like DEO Farms. So he was like the hype man. He was the guy that started selling all the clones. He named it Super Boof. I never named it that. That's just a little side topic, but he called it Super Boof. It's kind of like a joke. He was like razzing me a bit, you know. And then he started cutting them out, sending them to everybody. And he's in Michigan, so he started the whole thing in Michigan. He was just like, "You guys got to get this." He was selling them clones and everything. So that's kind of how it spread. And then from there, I popped my own seeds, did my own little hunt, got my breeder cut. And then that's kind of how the whole thing started. And then the seeds coming to you guys, like I said, I only had like one plant, and it wasn't like it wasn't supposed to be a project per se. But then like people started seeing all the stuff on Instagram, and Mobile J started getting a bigger and bigger following. And so like all kinds of people started hitting me up. So I was like, fuck it. They're just going to sit in my fridge anyways. Right. So I was like, might as well get these out to the world. By the time I'll go through these, I'll be 100 years old. You know what I mean? Like there's no way I was ever going to have time to pop all of them, plus all the stacks of seed that I collected. So that's how I started selling them. And then I remember the guy in Australia, it was like 2 guys, I think. But yeah, he actually popped them. So he has his own phenos, by the way. So his aren't Super Boof and his aren't my breeder cut. I keep telling people, I'm like, there's so many bangers in there. So Jay, he found his Super Boof cut off of 5 seeds. I also did 5 seeds, and I got my breeder cut. And I think I got like 2 or 3 males. One was, and mine was by default. I had a female that hermed, and then that was it. And then the other one was the breeder cut. I was like, sweet. And then he had Mobile J had like 3 females, 2 males, and he said all 3 were bangers, but he only kept the one because he didn't have room or something like that.
Wow, what an organic story.
But yeah, so you guys actually have your own stuff out there that's different from mine and from the Super Boof cut. So you guys have your own stuff. So I'm excited to try it too if I ever get out to Australia, for sure.
Yeah, right on, and goes without saying, huge shout out Osgrown, the homie down under who's growing those out.
That's him.
Yeah, it looks beautiful. And that story, there's so much about that which is so organic and beautiful, and it speaks to the fact that, some of the best strains are not exactly all fully planned out on paper, and, sometimes they're just these sort of little happy accidents.
Yep.
I'd love to quickly ask you, what stimulated you to change the name from Super Boof to Blockberry?
Never changed the name. So I actually called it Blockberry, and he didn't like that name. He being Mobile J. So since he was like the what's his name?
The DJ Khaled.
No, yeah, he's like, yeah. So he's like the DJ guy. So yeah, him being the hype man, him being, he already had like way more followers than I did. He was like, that was what he was doing just for his career. You know what I mean? He was the one that named it Super Boof. I never named it that. It was never supposed to be that. Initially, it was a joke. And then the name stuck, and now it's kind of in the lexicon now. So at this point, I don't have any ego about it. Like you can call it whatever you want. You know what I mean? Like it is what it is. It's already out there. But I just want to make sure that people know that actually wasn't the name. He named it that as like a Raz. And then, but yeah, so Blockberry was the initial name, and he's like, that name sucks. Cause like, he was like a little brother, you know what I mean? He's kind of like a little bratty brother. Like when we first started, like,
yeah,
hanging out, kicking it, you know what I mean? But yeah. So he named it that. I never named it that.
There you go. I love it. That makes sense. And I would love to ask you, I saw recently you put a post up talking about having gotten some of the F1s back and maybe doing some future line work.
Yes.
Yeah. Tell me a bit about that. Did you sort of accidentally lose them and then get them back, or how did that all work?
No. So yeah. So I sold, basically the bulk of them off. Cause like I said, they were just sitting in my fridge, and I was like, I already have my winner. You know what I mean? I was like, I don't really need to do anything besides this. But I know, so from the Black Cherry Punch, there was, it had blueberry bread terps. It was like blueberry muffins. It was insane. So, most of the blackberry, I guess phenos from what I have, they have tangy terps, right? So, but I know that there's the blueberry outliers because, Jay had one. He said, dude, he's like, I had one. He's like, I should have never tossed it. So I'm looking for the blueberry terps, right? So anyhow, so I gave and sold out pretty much all my seeds. I think I kept like 30 or 40 for myself. And then those 40 that I got back, or those ones that I got back, were from a homie in the Bay Area that I sent to. Cause like I said, at first it was just a passion project. You know what I mean? So I was just giving them out to homies, like, here, dude, pop them. Right. So I sent him like 40 seeds. And then he hit me up and he was like, hey man, I still have those seeds. Like, if you want to do a hunt. And I was like, fuck yeah. So then he sent them back. So that's how that happened. So currently, just so you know, I'm doing a fem release right now. So they're baking right now. So I'm going to do some S1s of the Blackberry, and then a bunch of other fem crosses. Because everybody's asking for fems, right? So I'm going to do that, and then the F2. I've got a couple fem projects on the way, and then after that, I'm going to be looking for some F2s. So it'll be probably next year by the time I find something, but they're coming.
Beautiful. I love that. And yeah, certainly seems like there's a lot of demand for fems at the moment. And you gave me a perfect segue because I wanted to ask you, I noticed you did work with some other males. One of them that caught my eye was the blueberry frosting. Can you tell us a little bit about that one?
Oh yeah. So that's from a guy. His handle on IG is Party Time Farms. So same kind of thing. Like we've been kind of homies through Instagram. I don't know what happened, but somehow we started chatting and I was talking to him about getting blueberry terps, right? Blueberry are great. And then he was like, oh, I got this mail. Da, 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 da. He was basically just telling me about it. And he's like, I'll send you some pollen. I was like, no way. So he ended up sending me some flour, some pollen, and like a shit ton of his new blueberry frosting crosses. I was like, dude, thank you so much. Like he was such a badass. He just sent it to me. Most people talk a good game in this industry, you know what I mean? But they never do shit. So this guy actually did it. I was like, wow. So, and then, anyhow, so that's where I got the pollen from. And the blueberry frosting, I believe, is like Wedding Crasher crossed with blueberry cookies, forum cut or something like that. But that's his creation. So we just did it as like a collab. I was like, here, I'll just give you seeds. You know what I mean? So it was it was really loose. Crazy part is he just took off. I think he's in like Colombia now. He's not even, I've been hitting him up like, hey dude, where can I send you these seeds? Ghost. But yeah, so that's how that project kind of started. And turns out I crossed the Halle Berry, which is ice cream cake crossed with blackberry. I crossed that with the blueberry frosting, and it does have blueberry terps. So I'm like super excited about it. So I still have some of that pollen I'm going to do and use on some other strains. But yeah, I'm excited for that one for sure.
That's incredible. And you've got me wondering, as time has gone by, I've realized more and more that, largely speaking, you can divide people into sort of, this is very simplistic, but two camps of flavor. People are either more into the gassy stuff or more into the fruity stuff. Sounds like you're like myself and you're more into the fruity stuff. Is that how you would put it, or is it not quite that clear cut?
Oh no, I did a full gas line. It hasn't taken off because people haven't popped the seeds, and I'm like I keep doing more and more seed projects, so I haven't got to hunt them myself. But I did this whole Triangle Kush cross line, and it was from the actual Triangle Kush from my very first seed pack from Seed Junkie. It was a Triangle Kush BX1. So I do have some super gnarly gas right now that I did hunt. So I've got I don't know if you've heard of the soap. So I crossed the soap to Triangle Kush. That's one of them that's like super gnarly. I also have it's Gorilla Butter F2, aka White Truffle Cut. I did that. I crossed it with Blackberry, and then I only got a couple seeds out of it. Popped that, and then I crossed that to Triangle Kush, and then I only got a couple seeds out of that as well. So I have that one. It's insane, just heavy, heavy gas. So no, I don't just like fruity. It just kind of is something that kind of started off that way. And I still have a lot of gas shit that I'm working on right now. So it's not, it's basically what I'm going to try and do is, honestly, now at this stage, I have it all mapped out in my head. Hopefully it works. I need to make strains that everybody can grow. I don't want to make it to where they're hard or finicky, or you have to be able to do A, B, and C to get it to yield or look right. A lot of the strains out there, especially the hype strains, either they don't yield or whatever. There's always something, right? They don't check all the boxes. So I'm working with a local facility here in San Diego, and they're professional facility. They're on the legal side, and they actually hit almost 4 a light with my breeder cut, and that's insane. The main guy there is like, dude, I've been growing for 20 plus years. I've never had anything like this in my life. So if I can get something to get 3-ish per light, 3 pounds per light with every type of terp profile, like that's it. That's what I'm trying to do. So I look for certain things. I want to make it so like, and if you talk to anybody, blackberry slash super boof, whatever, it's like the easiest plant they've ever grown. It yields super heavy. It's got great vigor, structure, etc. The flower's great, tastes great, smells great. You know what I mean? So basically, what I'm trying to do at this stage is make. I already got the orange terps, right? So that's already or tangerine, whatever. So I got the tangy terps down. Now I got the grapes or excuse me, the blueberries. I'm gonna try and do some grapes, maybe papaya, and that'll be pretty much it for the fruits. And then I'm just gonna do a bunch of different gas ones. And if everything works out the way I hope it will, then you know what I mean. Then it's gonna be like production strains left and right. Everybody's gonna be stoked. So that's the plan. We'll see if it happens because breeding, you never really know what you're gonna get. You know what I mean? But you can hope.
Yeah, that's brilliant. And you sort of got me thinking, it sounds as though you're helping step us out of the metaphorical corner that some people believe we're in terms of like, the hype strains are just getting smaller yielding and they're not great. And
they are, yeah.
Right. And so I wanted to know, do you think that the sort of strains you're making that are, yielding better and easier to grow, do you think they're going to become more popular, or do you think that's just something only you will probably be able to do?
Here's the thing that I've been seeing too, exactly what you just said. All I see a lot of people doing that are current breeders are they just cross hype strain to hype strain and that's it. And then all these pictures that I'll see, there's these tiny little frosty buds out like satellite sites, gangly looking. I'm just like, I don't get it. Like for me, I want to grow better strains. So what I want to do personally, this is what I do is like, I'll look for the beast, right? That like has a big old frame structure, etc. Right? I want it to check pretty much every single box, and then I want to pair it with something that has maybe a little bit of different terp or whatever. So I'll look for something that has like a weakness, and this one has that weakness in it. So then I'll breed those two. That's kind of the way I look at it. So blueberry frosting, I don't think anybody's ever heard of this because it's not a hype strain, right? Halle Berry, I created. I'm not breeding hype strain to hype strain, although I'm going to have to at some point. You know what I mean? To sell some seeds if I want, because that's what people want. But I'm going to basically have to use a bunch of shit that nobody's ever heard of or that nobody gives a fuck about because I know that it's going to contribute. So to answer your question, yeah, eventually, in terms of on the legal side here, everybody needs yield. Prices of packs here in California and America in general are going down. So the days of these 1 to 2 pound of light, super frosty little buds are going to be over. Like people can't get by anymore. So they need to maximize their space. That's why I want to make it so it's like they can grow it. Because here's the other key thing. As a breeder, people will look at your shit and they'll maybe they suck as a grower. I don't know what they're doing, right? So like if I can make it shine and I beat it up because I go through all this testing and whatnot, I make it, I try to fuck it up as hard as I can to make sure it's stable. And then if I can make it shine, and I want everybody to make it shine. And so certain people will start talking shit on the breeder, even though they may or may not know what the fuck they're doing, right? So I want to make it to where it's virtually impossible for them to fuck it up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because they're always going to be like, oh, it hermed. Well, maybe it's because you made it herm. You know what I mean? Or it did this or did do that, whatever. Like maybe it's because of you. Maybe it's because of me. Maybe, but I want to make sure before that it's going to be like as easy to grow as possible so that everybody can have success, from the small hobbyist tent grower to the, facilities. And then in the production strain world, they're going to need these heavy yielding strains that check all the boxes to stay afloat.
Wow. Yeah. Brilliant stuff. I love that there's a specific conscious focus on trying to make it easier for the grower. And every point you said is, totally relevant, but it's interesting because, as you said, other breeders may recognize some of those issues, but maybe not necessarily actively trying to combat them through their breeding. So that's really cool to hear.
Honestly, don't see anything. Like I just saw a clone drop today from Compound Genetics, and like their picture that they're showing, it just looks like a little baby bud, looks like a side branch. And I'm like, damn, that's like the best picture that they have. And they're putting that as like, here's our clone drop, etc. I'm like, damn. Like to me, just already, I just wouldn't get it. You know what I mean? I'm like, I don't, because I know it's not going to yield. You know what I mean? I'm like, and everybody, and so I'm,
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right, man. Everybody. I don't think anybody. I don't know what's in everybody's head, But from what I see from the end products, it's literally just hype strain to hype strain. And a lot of it is not even like, I don't know what they're thinking. You know what I mean? Like, I just don't know. I think a lot of people are just throwing shit against the wall to see if it sticks. I don't know if they have plans or not. But yeah, I try to just stay in my own lane. And I just try to do, what I'm doing. So, but yeah, a lot of hype to hype. So that's what I'm trying to stay away from.
Man, that's brilliant. I love that. And I think we're going to have to definitely get you on for a sort of extended show on your work. I'd love to chat more. I think that pretty much sums up the questions I had for you in regards to this award. In terms of the final thing, I'd love to know, what do you think is going to be the next big flavor that's going to dominate the industry?
Oh, that's a good one. So basically, from where it stands now, at least here, everybody likes gas, it seems, right? And nobody likes, or everybody has their own flavors of this. Let's just say that everybody likes their own flavors. So what everybody I think wants currently right now is a gassy candy strain that also those don't really exist. Usually there's going to be like the gassy strains are usually like lower yielding from my experience. Harder to grow. Sometimes they don't look that great. And then, you know what I mean? So it's hard. So they basically want the best of both worlds. So I think like the newest thing will be whoever comes up with like this candy, gassy, super heavy yielding, covered in trichomes that also has power, right? That's the other key thing. Like a lot of these strains, they'd say, oh, they're not that powerful or whatever. It'll check like 3 boxes. You know what I mean? So, in terms of the terp profile, I would say a candy gas, like a still fruit, but like heavy gas. If that's even, I don't even know if it's possible though. Like I've had some stuff where it kind of almost checks those boxes, but it doesn't check them all. So I think that's going to be the next wave. But I don't know, man. It's kind of like asking, like, does everybody like IPAs? Some people like crisp beers, lagers. Some people like IPAs. Some people like stouts. Or ice cream. So I don't know. We'll see though. We'll see what takes off.
I love that. So again, a huge congratulations on winning the hottest newcomer on the block award to Blockhead of Blockhead Genetics.
What did I win?
Yeah, good question, right? We'll send you I'll paint something up in Microsoft Paint for you.
Little e-card. Yeah. Awesome, man. I can't wait for that.
So before we wrap up, did you have any general comments or shout outs you wanted to make?
For sure. So shout out to Mobile J for basically popping the seeds, right? Let's start off there. Without him, and he and I have had these conversations multiple times. Without him, I probably would have never popped them. Without him, I probably would have never even started anything that I've started. You know what I mean? So big ups to Jay. Shout out to Harry Palms, right? Because without him, there would have been no Tropicana cookies. Shout out to In-House. There would have been no Black Cherry Punch for me. Let's start there. There's a ton of shout outs, but yeah, I'll just kind of leave it in the for the Blockberry. You know what I mean? So shout out to those group for starting what they started and for letting me fuck with it. You know what I mean? And creating Blockberry.
Yeah, that sounds like a very well-earned shout-out. So thank you so much, Blockhead, for joining us today, and congrats again on the award.
For sure. Thanks, brother.
Congrats, hottest newcomer on the scene. Shout-out, Blockhead buds. So on to our next award. We have the hottest seed drop of the year. So to start off, let's give some honourable mentions. I want to give, as mentioned earlier, an honourable mention to Crickets and Cicada for their puck backcross 2 work, which has garnered a lot of success, utilising males such as the puck to create the BX or the BC3, also using a skunk as well as an alternative shoreline skunk clone, 2 different Sensi star cuttings, Bubba Kush, and more. They've done really well on the back of last year's Breeder of the Year award and building a continuation of the puck line work they've been doing. So huge shout out, honourable mention to Crickets and Cicada. Likewise, I want to give an honourable mention to Exotic Mike for his Power Sherb work, definitely causing some waves. Being popular, I know Mr. Bean's a big fan of it. Mike breeds with many of his own creations, which I give him credit for. Many breeders line up comprises mostly clones they were likely gifted. However, Mike does pheno hunt his own work and breed forward with it, which is a cool feature. Mr. Bean, got any honourable mentions for the hottest seed drop of the year?
Yeah, well, for me, I definitely shout out to Mike on those. It's cool to have been with him from the start, so to say. Like, we were distributing for him since 2013, not from the start. He's going to start breeding like 2009, right? So we've been with him for a long time, anyhow. And it's cool just to see his work evolve and and now start to see it in a lot of other people's work, and it being like one of the, like, you're not surprised, like you're like, wow, he's using Mike's kind of this. Well, I'm not surprised, right? Like, it's you'd be surprised if they didn't have one of Mike's cuts in their lineup, so to say. So it's just kind of cool to mention that one. Then for me this year, Mike had a lot of good drops with us. Had those two drops that went really, really well. The red pop drop and the red wrench drop. But for me this year, it definitely is going to be the crickets and cicadas, the puck BC3 drop. I couldn't keep that thing in stock. I was calling old Bob every other day. I was sending him emails. Hey, it was sold out. You crashed my site down. Can I get some more of those? Check your mailbox. Can I get some more of those? So yeah, I felt like, a bit like Two Gums Tommy at one point. Hey man, you got any more of that BX3? So we were happy to have that in, and it helped. Like I said, I met him last year, and he gave me a big jar of that shit, and it just kept knocking me in. It kept knocking my dick in the dirt every time I smoked it. I couldn't figure out what the hell was wrong with me for like a month. I was like, oh, it's probably this weed that's on my desk now that I'm smoking. Just couldn't function. It was just serious weed. So that's one of the ones that I most looked forward to, and I put a bunch of packs aside. That one, and of course, shout out to Thug Pug. He's back. He's got, he's over his surgery now. He's feeling a lot better. Still ornery as hell, but feeling a lot better. And he had his peanut butter BX drop. We are actually doing a pre-sale of that right now. It was his redrop because he ran out of the first one, so he did another one. And it's been 2 months and 3 months in the making. So we'll have that. He has that RS11 Rainbow Sherb, not Roadkill Skunk. So those were two really good drops. But where are you going with this one?
Yeah, I was going to say, shout out Groma. Glad to hear you're doing well after the surgery. I think that overall for this year, the winner for me was pretty obvious, and it feels like almost sandbagging a bit. But the hottest seed dropper this year, I think, is undeniably Chris Compound's Apples and Bananas. Its success was simply unparalleled. The Compound drop garnered a huge amount of support and attention, even featuring NFT drops to accompany them and some top shelf pricing. The drops sold out extremely quickly, and from what we both saw at the Emerald Cup, had people lining up around the corner for it. High Times has in fact recently named Pink Certs its strain of the year for 2022, which was included in this Apples and Bananas drop. Other notable strains from the drop included Gastropops, which has garnered a lot of popularity utilizing the White Runts mother. And the overall success is a testament not only to the power of good marketing, which has undeniably played a role in the success, but also to how when good marketing combined with quality genetics will make for something truly special. Having tried the Apples and Bananas myself, I can say it's some beautiful herb. Grapey, berry, sort of hard to describe at the same time. It dominates a bag, and these hybrids are offering growers many of the best qualities of both. What's your thoughts, Mr. Bean? Apples and Bananas.
Well, it goes back to what I've always preached and said. Some of the best guys, the guys that can run the numbers. It's a numbers game, folks. It really is. We can all go by the same clone, and we're all going to have the same cut of the same clone of the same thing. Or we can run from seeds, and we're guaranteed something uniquely ours, something that nobody else has. And it's like baseball cards, right? You could have the first 5-pack. You could get that Babe Ruth. But Hank Aaron is always out there. Or you could collect cards for 10 years and pop 10,000 beads and never get it, right? It's always out there floating around. There's always that better one. And these breeders out of these giant facilities, they have the opportunity to run 5,000 at a time. And so when you're using that kind of numbers for pheno hunts, you're able to find that's something different. I've always heard breeders say that, if you look for it, it's in there. Don't overdo it. Don't keep doing the line. If it's in there, just keep looking. What you want to find is there. And so I think that they have the ability to run these giant populations and see these plants and see the subtle differences in them, to see that one that really sticks out. I think that's it's truly special, and I think all the guys that have that ability definitely shine.
100%. Huge shout out and congratulations to the Apples and Bananas drop by Chris of Compound Genetics.
Yeah, Chris Lynch. So because now Compound, the other, there's two Chris's. There's Chris Lynch, and then there's the other Chris, which is also one of their scientist guys. And so now they just did a thing on Future Chemist Project. They said Chris with Compound, and I was like, what? Chris with Compound? No, he's no longer with fucking Compound. And look at the TV, and they keep saying Chris with Compound, but it's not Chris Compound. It's this other Chris, super smart.
It's Chris from Node.
Chris from Node Labs.
Okay, interesting. So up next, we got the Hall of Fame strain. What's your predictions? You got anything coming to mind for you?
Yeah, I mean, I can talk about it, like when you talk about what you want it to be, but I was thinking about that, like what would be my Hall of Fame strain, but that's just giving it up. That would just, and I don't know what I would do like that. It would be, like ruining a future strain for us to talk about, I guess.
That's true. No, I like that angle. Okay, so the Hall of Fame strain for this year is Haze by the Hayes brothers in all of its incarnations. We have certainly seen a recent resurgence of popularity for Haze. I think this initially got some momentum probably around the time Neville passed and the NL5 came back into the limelight, but more recently with the advent of things like the Colombian Black Haze or the PIF, as well as work by people like Tom Hill and Mr. Bob's Reproduction, we are seeing Haze yet again more the focus of attention in the cannabis community zeitgeist. And it's a strain that I think is well worthy of the Hall of Fame. Work done by Sam and then the work of countless others around the world, the likes of Old Timer One and many other unsung heroes. Haze is a truly special plant. I don't know if I can do it justice in just a few minutes, so I hope I can cover some of the main points, but Haze gave birth to a wave of smokers who pursued the euphoric and cerebral effects that Haze has become iconic for. It is certainly a white whale in its own right, claimed by countless OGs to be the pinnacle of smoking and combining some of the oldest building blocks the cannabis genome has to offer. Haze truly is unlike any other strain, having countless incarnations varying from mixes of pure Colombians through to Thai hybrids through to NL5 Haze hybrids. It's made its mark on history without any doubt. A recent resurgence has been brought on by several people in the community. Notable OGs, the likes of Tom Hill, have launched into massive Haze pheno hunts to show everyone just how kick-ass the keeper pheno is that many have spoken so fondly about, as well as others, the likes of Mr. Bob, who has carried on the preservation work by continuing the Tom Hill's Haze and releasing it commercially, as well as making a Haze hybrid featuring Old Timer One's Haze, Tom Hill's Haze, and Original Haze. Descending originally from the Hayes brothers to Sam and then to the world, Haze is truly something unique, something in its own category, and something clearly worthy of the Hall of Fame category. Maybe more simply put, Haze rules everything around me. What's your thoughts, Mr. Bean?
Pretty awesome. I thought, I thought we were going a different direction with that one. I thought you were going with the Blue Dream, which is, a Haze derivative, you could say. But the Haze is a classic, a wonderful choice. The Haze brothers got that thing, 12 to 16 week strain. Most people don't grow it out or won't grow it out because they don't have the time for it. Super huge. Like it stretches like no other. Like you're right. So it's very, definitely like that strong, super cat pissy smell, but it's definitely something that's been worked by many people, and I don't know that many people nowadays have smoked a Haze. A lot of the new smokers, I don't believe, have, because I don't believe that shops pay for the Haze. And today's growing economy of that plant has to pay for its way. A 16-week strain or a 12-week strain doesn't really pay its bills to be there next to an 8-week strain. You're going to pay the same price per pound, price per gram. So, but the hazes are phenomenal. Like I said, I don't know many people that can grow them or that have them because they do take such a long time. But it's worth the wait for sure.
That it is. But you know what? What is it? Those who are patient are rewarded. I'm excited to try to get into some of it myself in the near future. But again, a big congrats to the strain Haze and all those associated with it. So many people, so many unsung heroes. I'm not doing it justice, but everyone who's played a role, thank you so much.
Yeah, I mean, because those guys they weren't pheno hunting in the '60s, right? Because that's where, I mean, we can talk. The haze goes all the way back to the '60s. So I mean, anything that's held the test of time for like 50 years, people still have it or still talk about it, right? It's got to be something special there because these guys weren't doing pheno hunts back then. They were just, or they're smaller scale. So it's for something to work and a spread that far and wide. That's got to be all right.
Yeah, 100%. Stand the test of time for good reason. So, our next award, we're going to do the Hall of Fame breeder next. So, following the same principle as last time, I guess I won't get you to spurt out what could be next year's suggestion, so I'll get right into it. So, for this year, the Hall of Fame breeder we want to induct is none other than Bodhi of Bodhi Seeds. Do I really need to say any more? Truly a name that needs no introduction, Bodhi is a pillar in our community. The most iconic yet simplistic seed packaging the community has ever seen. But if you see that green bag and that gold label, you know straight away what it is. Bodhi's worked with countless cannabis lines, countless proven males that have yielded amazing clones that the community has benefited from. The Snow Lotus has given birth to famous lines such as the Goji OG, the Ancient OG, Tranquil Elephantizer, so many more. And his beloved 88 G13 hash plant male has given birth to some undeniable legends, the Black Triangle, as well as the infamous entire Deep Line Alchemy range, which is paired to other old world indicas. His preservation work with Narika Seeds is up there with some of those who dedicate themselves exclusively to that sort of preservation. He has countless lines, from Afghanis to Africans, Colombians to Nepalese and Thai. This work is utilized by many other breeders, both for selection and for their own reproductions, ensuring future generations can continue the work. Furthermore, his creations stemming from supernatural selections where he makes raw F1 hybrids with landrace and heirloom varieties, remixing like a DJ, trying to give the people a new unheard sound. He's involved in countless charity projects. He supports the community through still using testers, which most breeders have phased out. He's also more recently taken an active role in trying to facilitate the broader cannabis community to experience a new and enlightening cannabis effect with his assignment as the head of genetics at Cookies, something I'm extremely excited to see happening. Truly one of the most standout humans I've ever had the privilege of calling one of my friends. The 2022 Hall of Fame breeder goes to none other than Bodhi of Bodhi Seeds. Thank you so much for everything you do.
Bodhi's an icon. I mean, another one to knock it out of the park as far as Hall of Famer for sure. He's an icon in the industry. I've had the pleasure of meeting him a few times. He does have the simplest packaging out there, but that goes to show you, it's not about the packaging. It's about what's inside the packaging. I don't know of any of my breeders, like 70 of them. I think everybody has a pack of Bodhi seeds in their collection. If they don't, they should. If you don't buy them from me, buy them from one of his guys. But so but Bodhi's an amazing breeder. He helps. He says he's not a breeder. He says he helps plants have sex. But he's got for sure lines. He's got a seed collection that people would die for sure. So it wasn't definitely surprised when Cookies want to get the best out there. Who's got the best collection, best library? It's going to be Bodhi. So and definitely, if you've seen the baggie, you've seen it once, you've seen it twice. You know what it is.
That's exactly it.
Little crack baggie with a gold label.
As you said, simply iconic. So huge thank you to Bodhi for everything you do, my friend. We're so appreciative as a community. And it is with great sadness we bid farewell to our friend Jaime Chiba, aka James Schenk, aka the Alaskan Santa Claus, one of the kindest people you would ever meet and a man who dedicated himself to the plant. The head honcho of the Alaskan cannabis seed cache. Sadly, we lost Jaime just before our last episode, and we are truly devastated to see him pass. He is associated with countless strains, such as the Roadkill Skunk, the Mud Blight Delight, and the Alaskan Thunderfuck. He specialized in older strains, often from the 80s and 90s, and focused his work on preserving genetics for future generations to enjoy. Truly a gentleman of the highest quality. I'm deeply sad to have lost a valuable member of our community. Jaime Chiba, thank you, sir. Right on into infinity.
Yeah, and then I have an RIP as well. This year also we lost Matthew DeSale of Goat and Monkey Seeds. Goat and Monkey did like a chocolate dog. They did the Triangle Kush S1, Sour Runs. Matthew, I first met Matthew about 6 years ago. He answered one of my ads to work a booth in Massachusetts. Came out and worked the booth, and later it was Cornbread Ricky's suggestion that he worked the booth, and I said, well, that's about as good as resume as anybody can have. So he worked for us for a little while as our East Coast rep, and worked out in the East Coast with us every time we'd hang out with Kim Dog, and started breeding, and real good guy. Did a lot of good work. But he passed away on September this year, so RIP to him.
Yeah, a huge shout out to his family, and RIP Xochi, a valued member of the community. Caleb of CSI has recently done a reproduction of the Sterling skunk, which comes by way of both Bodhi and Xochi. So hopefully his work can live on through that line. But that's another sad farewell we have to say.
Yeah, Caleb's a good guy. He's a good guy.
Well, that must bring us to the big award for the end of the year. Breeder of the Year Award. There's a few people in contention, and so it's only right to give some honourable mentions, and one that we've done a few times already, none other than Mr. Bob Hemphill and Hannah Bolt of Crickets and Cicada. They've had yet another super successful year. Coming off the back of last year's Breeder of the Year win, they've continued to blaze a trail forward with their puck line, this time working on the Backcross 2, making a range of hybrids, including the Shoreline Skunk, the Sensi Star, the Bubba Kush, and more, as well as doing a haze preservation project among it, the Tom Hill Haze F3, as well as a hybrid haze project, incorporating Old Timers Haze, Tom Hill's Haze, and Original Haze. So, well done, Crickets and Cicada.
Yeah, no, Cricket Cicadas definitely. They had, I was really happy with their Tom Hillis Haze drop, and then of course the Puck BC3 was, like I said, crazy. I was burning up his phone trying to get more of those. Also for me, an honorable mention, one of my guys that I liked, exotic. He had, at least 3 drops this year. Each of them sold over 100 packs. I mean, he's a good guy. His good breeding technique. His gear is solid as hell. I've been repping his stuff for a while now, and always never had a problem with any of Mike's gear. Really good stuff.
Nice. And I will give a third honourable mention to someone not too many degrees of separation related to Mike, none other than Soulfire. He too has had a very productive year with a number of releases, the Bahama Triangle, the Hood Candies, and the Mind Flayer series all dropping within the past 12 months. He's certainly blazing a path forward, not too dissimilar to Exotic Mike. However, the Breeder of the Year, going to none other than Chris Lynch of Compound Genetics. That's right, our runner-up Breeder of the Year for last year has gone on to take the head spot this year. He's worked his ass off doing compound drops, cookies, collabs, NFTs, doing deals and more. It's undeniable that Chris has been one of the biggest movers and shakers in the scene over the past 12 months. So much so that it's undeniable that Chris has been one of the biggest movers and shakers in the scene over the past 12 months. However, all this has been mirrored in recent with the reveal that he has sold and left Compound Genetics to start a new venture called Cypher Genetics. Let's hear more from the man himself now. Alrighty, my friends, we are back, and this time grateful to be joined by the man of the hour, one of the hottest dudes in the industry. A big congratulations to Chris on winning several awards this past year, including Most Anticipated Seed Drop, Breeder of the Year, and Clone of the Year. So, first off, thank you so much for joining us today, Chris. How you doing?
Excellent, man. Thank you. Good to be here.
I'm so grateful. I imagine you must be a very busy man, given everything I just said, so we're very grateful to have your time. How does it feel to win these awards? Do you feel like you've had a big year the past year?
It's a mixture, man. It feels good to get the recognition from the industry and from my peers. It's always very humbling to receive awards like this. So thank you for the recognition and the award. It means a lot. I feel this year's been a big year for me with all the wins I've had and all the new obstacles that I've had to overcome with Compound and with my own place in the industry. I'm looking forward to where 2023 takes me and what's next.
Yeah, incredible. I know that all of your fans are equally excited for what you have for us over the coming few years. I would love to start. Let's talk about the Clone of the Year award. So Apples and Bananas took out Clone of the Year. I think you'd probably have to be living under a rock to have not heard or experienced Apples and Bananas at this point. I guess the place I'd love to start is maybe going back to the genesis. You know, do you remember that pollination where you made it, and what was it about those two parents that drew you to it? Because I think something I really like about Apples and Bananas is that it utilizes genetics you don't see as much, and I think that helped made it special. But I'd love to hear your take on it.
Yeah, I made the cross back in 2019, I believe. I was working in a small basement I had access to in Portland, Oregon. I received the now and later cut from my friend Clearwater Genetics in Colorado. I traded him some cuts for it. I think it was a Gelato 41. I traded him for the now and later. So I received that cut and I immediately put it to work. I didn't really expect anything special to come from the cut, so it's really awesome to see how far it's come. Yeah, it was really cool to see that recognition I received, and I remember giving the phenotype to and the selection to Burner when I started working with cookies, and he's the one that kind of really put Apples and Bananas on the map. So I have to give him all the credit, and not all the credit, but part of the credit for basically creating the branding and helping with the recognition that this cut's received and the momentum it's gotten. So it's really cool to see where that comes full circle.
Wow, there you go. I didn't know you had made it that long ago, and that's cool to hear the backstory on it. Something which grabbed my eye about it is that this is the second big cut that has utilized work from Sin City Genetics. And I think they, largely speaking, sort of fly under the radar, but people may know that Jay Beasy also used some of their work in the wedding cake. So I think we've now got two nice clones that sort of illustrate some of the quality of their genetics. Is this a thought you've ever meditated on? Maybe Sin City's like secretly the breeder's breeder, or do you think like a bit of a coincidence?
I'm not sure. It's probably a coincidence in some aspects, but I definitely know Sin City does lots of solid work, and the blue power they created has been a big part of JBC's genetics and his work. So yeah, they definitely have an eye and a taste for quality and good genetics. So I think that there's a reason their work is known for as backbones for so many prevalent breeders.
Yeah, amazing. And in that recent answer, you mentioned working with Burner and how he helped promote the strain. I've got to ask, what's that like? Because obviously the media powerhouse that is cookies is undeniable, right? It has the ability to really market strains better than 99.9% of people can. Is it a bit surreal to see your work get like showcased so well, or like how did that come about, I guess?
Yeah, it's very humbling. I'm still taken back by it every day. It's a very awesome experience to have. I'm grateful to work with Burner and the whole cookies team. I remember when we first linked up about around 2019 in San Francisco, he was asking for some jars of flavors, and the Apples and Bananas wasn't named that Apples and Bananas cut, which didn't have that name at the time. I had in a jar, and I gave it to him, and he immediately gravitated towards that. So I have to give him props for he has a very strong eye for taste and for what's going to work in the market. So I don't think without him selecting that pheno with me and giving it the name Apples and Bananas, it would be recognized where it is now. So it's really cool to be able to work with someone like Burner, who has that ability to basically put a strain on or off and have him select strains that I created and basically decide to put them on the map. So it's a really cool experience.
That's incredible. I love to hear that. I wanted to ask you about Something I've been grateful to have received a few samples of apples and bananas while I was in the States recently, and they were gorgeous. And something people said to me and that I also experienced myself is it has this quality to it that is similar to like some of the citrus strains in the sense that it's not citrus, but it cuts through. Like you have one bud of it in a bag of stuff and it's like that's all you smell. It really cuts through. I was wondering, because you look at the genetics and I wasn't really sure where that trait was coming from. Do you have any speculations on why it's got such a dominant profile to it?
I don't know. I'm not exactly sure. Maybe it goes back to the work Sin City did and that blue power, or it could be a mixture of the GDP or just a combination of all the genetics in the cross together. I tend to get more of a gassy, unique profile from it, but everyone has their own kind of trait there or terpene they pull out from it. But it's definitely has something that makes it unique with the cuts through. So yeah, it's definitely a strong one.
Yeah, sorry, I should clarify. I just wanted to say I don't think it smells like citrus. It just I actually can't describe the flavor profile to be honest. And I think a lot of people said that as well. It's like it's a mixture of gassy, unique berries, grapes. It's beautiful, and I agree with you. It's something about those genetics just seem to really work well, which is lovely. So, next thing I wanted to ask you is one of the other awards you won is the hottest seed drop of the year. And if I had to do a single one, I would say probably the apples and bananas drop. But I want to give equal props to the grape gas drop, which I think also did really well, had some standout strains. What's your recollection on those two drops? And is one of them more memorable to you than the other, or you think they're both sort of equal?
They're both special in their own way for me. I think the grape gas created more of a wave on its own because the grape gas didn't really have any recognition going into that seed collection. It was kind of its own strain. It didn't really have a wave from cookies prior to the release. So I'm grateful and surprised at the whole momentum that Pink Certs has received and other strains from that collection, like the Mellows, Pink Certs. Those are all very strong strains that have done well in the market since the seed release. So I'm proud of that collection. I think the apples and bananas is also unique on its own because it kind of was a culmination of all the work with Burner and with Cookie. So it was special in a different way. They're both really collections, good collections, and I think they both have unique profiles that add something to the gene pool and will be here for a while.
I love that. That is really cool. And as you just touched on, the Pink Certs has done really well. High Times recently named Pink Certs as the strain of the year. Were you anticipating that to be the one that stood out of the grape gas drop, or was there another one that you maybe suspected might have done a little better?
I was actually surprised by that, and it's still awesome to see that success that strain's done. So props to the Certs guys and everyone from the Certs family who's kind of been on board for this as well. I kind of made that whole branding and naming on my own. I didn't really reach out to those guys prior to doing it, so it was kind of cool to see that whole thing come full circle and create the wave it did. So it's definitely unique and strong cross. So I had an idea from the get-go that it would be a powerhouse, but the amount of momentum it's received and where it's gone is nothing I expected. So it's very cool to see that.
Incredible. Now, I'm gonna put you in a hard spot here. If you could only pick one pack out of the apples and bananas drop and one pack out of the grape gas drop, which would be your pick?
Ooh, that's a tough question. Very tough question. From the grape gas, I have to pick Pink Certs. Just it's the one for sure. And from apples and bananas, I'm thinking of that. Either the Goofies, the Joker's 31 by apples and bananas, or the Exotic Squared, the Red Pop by apples and bananas. From those are both very strong ones.
Nice one. That's cool to hear the Red Pop hybrid in there getting a mention. I love that. So I would love to know, because I think you and a few other people would have a good idea of this. What do you predict will be some of the big flavor profiles we see roll in over the coming year or so? Any predictions for what might come back, so to speak?
I think the purple gas is here to stay. It's not going to go away anytime soon. I think we'll see more of like mixtures of like old lost strains or more unique profiles mixed with the current strains, like purple gas mixed with some unique cultivar that's kind of been forgotten about or was hot 5 years ago. It's going to come back as a new version mixed with purple gas or mixed with runts or mixed with some hot strains or mixed with Z terps, something like that. The new mixed with the old, I kind of see that as kind of a new wave for the next wave. Maybe some more skunk terps. If you can find some more original skunk terps, it's kind of always been a desirable thing. But yeah, just a mixture of new and old. I think it will be possibly some new stuff we'll see coming forward. And it's just things that aren't on the radar. I think there's so much of the same right now. People are looking for things that are different. So anything that's different that stands out that checks all the boxes, I think will do well.
Too true, too true. I think we're seeing that in the industry for sure, that some of the old's coming back, but there's definitely some new staples. And I like that term, purple gas. I'm gonna adopt that term into my library because I've never heard it, but as soon as you said it, I knew exactly what you meant. So
or purple candy. They're both purple candy, purple gas. They're both very hot right now.
Yeah. I love that. Okay, so final question for this little award segment. What can we hope to see from you over the coming year? Do we think we might see a seed drop at some point, or we just need to wait and see what happens?
Yeah, I'm working on some new projects right now. I can't say too much at the moment, but you'll see some seed drops coming soon in the next year, hopefully. And also, we're trying to work on some stuff with Burner and the Cookies team. I have some new projects I'm working with Burner as well. So you'll see some new stuff from me on my own and some collaborations with various people.
Beautiful. I cannot wait to see. So, again, thank you so much for coming on and chatting to us today. Were there any general comments or shout outs you wanted to make?
Yeah, thank you to the community and for everyone recognizing my work and supporting me throughout this journey. It's been very awesome to see the amount of feedback and love I get from the community. I'm always grateful for that. As far as shout outs, shout out to Burner, shout out to the Search guys, shout out to Runts, shout out to RM from Greenhouse and the Strand crew. Shout out to Deep East, shout out to Wizard Trees, Julio the C Plug, and everyone that supports me. Thank you for all your support and love.
Amazing. Thanks so much again, Chris, for coming by.
Thank you.
So there you go, folks. A big thanks to Chris for giving us that insight. So again, a breeder of the year, Chris Lynch of Compound Genetics. Huge shout out. 2022 absolutely crushed it. Mr. Bean, what's your thoughts? Was Chris your pick?
I would have gone with Exotic. I would have gone with Exotic just because I think he had more of those drops. You can find Chris also did the Joker's line, right?
Yes, sir.
And what happened to Joker's line?
I'm not sure actually. It hasn't come out through Compound yet, has it?
So, if you go on my website under Breeder X and you look at the male that was used in all those strains,
Female pollen donor.
that might be the hidden Joker's line, released.
Oh, what sort of fell off a truck vibe are you given here?
Just saying, maybe. I mean, I don't know that the community would really go for somebody else using that many of somebody else's work, so to say. Like if you look at what was used, but all that media and all that hype just goes to nothing. That would be a shame. So check out Breeder X. On my website, get yourself a phenotype. The gastropop I have heard is something special for sure. And the pink shirts. It's great to hear High Times named it strain of the year, and their packaging was on point. And those guys, that's how they got that special thing, is by running numbers. That's what you're going to get when you run numbers. You're going to find, just because you have a pack of something doesn't mean it's the best something. Or sometimes you might need 2 packs. So.
Very nice.
Hunt more, hunt more. Have fun, hunt.
Well, that just about brings us to the end of it. Thank you so much, as always, for joining me, Mr. Bean.
Oh, thank you for having me, and I appreciate you, and I appreciate your audience, and I love listening to all your stuff over the years. I'd love to get Bog Jr. on with you. I'd love to sit down and have him talk with you. I know that you did an excellent, great podcast with his dad, and I think it'd be really cool to get you and him going on a follow-up. I've got him and Duke talking as of last Saturday together. They're going to do their first collab together.
That's exciting.
Because as Bog mentioned on your show, he mentioned that I had set him and Duke up to do a collab. And then he unfortunately passed away before they got it started. And so this just kind of finishes that project up.
That's lovely and cool to hear. We'll have to follow up with that. Stay tuned, everyone.
Yep. And you can check out my YouTube channel. Get Real Seeds Here Now, YouTube. And we've got the interview with Bog on the Dunn show that we talk about basically the gear that I have that I'm selling came from his dad and whatnot. And then hopefully we'll get the full sit down, the 3-hour in-depth interview with you.
Yeah, it'll be cool to cover that one. Again, thank you for joining me, And to everyone who's made it to the end, we appreciate it. That's us signing off.
Oh, hey, by the way, anybody that listens to the show, if they use podcast free ship, gets free shipping on their order. That's a stackable coupon, so that works with any other coupon. It's usually either or, but works with all of them. So all your listeners, podcast free ship, and then we'll get free shipping.
Wow. Killer. Thank you so much. Everyone jot it down. There you have it, friends. What do you think? Agree, disagree? Let me know. Who was your breeder of the year? What was your seed drop of the year? As always, got to give a massive shout out to the people who helped make this show happen. Seeds here now. Guarantee on satisfaction, not just germination. Why would you go to any other seed bank? If you finish your harvest and you're not happy with the end product, hit them up. They'll sort you out. That's how confident they are with every breeder they select, including the one and only Heavy Days Genetics. Get on that hitter, guys. Likewise, Copert Biological Systems, the best in the business. You know them, you've heard of them. These guys are world renowned. They need no introduction. Get the Apipar M if you're battling aphids. Get the Spidex Vital if you're battling spider mites. I promise you, you will not regret releasing beneficial predators into your garden before you have a problem. Get peace of mind. Sleep easy at night. Copert Biological Systems, thank you so much. We appreciate you so much. Just like we appreciate Pulse Sensors. These guys have the best sensors in the game. The latest real-time information sent straight to your phone. You can track how your rooms are going even if you're nowhere near the facility, nowhere near your house, nowhere near your tent. No matter what your operation is, it's time to get serious. Get a Pulse sensor. Pulse is the way to go if you're looking to up your game. Huge shout out, Pulse Sensors. We appreciate you. Last but not least, the Patreon gang. They got to listen to this early, probably by a couple months even. That's how good the Patreon is. You're going to hear stuff so much earlier if you support the Patreon. Please consider signing up if you want to help to ensure that episodes continue to happen. www.patreon.com/the podcast. Bit of a mouthful, but you'll be able to find it if you Google it. As usual, thank you so much for getting to the end of the episode and for the support in general. I appreciate all of you guys. That does it for this year's awards ceremony. Huge shout out to Mr. Bean for joining us as always. And I think I'll see you for the next one. I'll see you.